Okay, well, everyone's here, so, well, basically, I just want to say that, hello? Basically, I want to say that this is not a celebration for me, or a party, for me at least. It's actually a tragedy of my life, of who I was and who I became. Basically, last year I introduced my Dark Stages book, and the reason I called it Dark Stages was because it was the beginning of who I became later on. And actually, this was my life of, the life that I lived, that I had, that I was trying to find for myself. And then when I was 20 years old, I met a man who I named in my book. I changed people's names, but I named him Damien, like the devil. And basically I met him at the gym, and at that time I wanted a relationship, a friend, a companion. And he was basically a drug addict who basically fed my mind with a lot of bad paranoia, before I started to have paranoia. He fed my mind with saying he had mafia connections, to ruin people's lives. And then basically 3 months later, after I met him, I felt that he used these connections on me. And basically, after that, it started with, me being paranoid, thinking people were out there watching me, following me, putting things into my food, doing things to my body. It escalated into more things from that. And it was the first 3 years of my life, and this is actually only from 20 to 23, and these are the worst years of my life to date. And there are things that I haven't even addressed or talked to with my own family about these things. It's been like 20 years since we've talked about these kind of things, and I've talked to my sister recently about some of these things. But basically, I just wanted everyone to know, like my closest friends, which most of you are here, and my family, which most of you are here, just basically how I live my life inside my mind. Because even though, yes, I could be happy and energetic and happy Danny and everything's okay, but in reality, it's not like that for me. That's not how I live in my mind. These last 20 years, it's been 20 years since this came out. I met him on May 29th, 1997, the John F. Kennedy's birthday. And then exactly 3 months later, when Princess Diana actually was murdered, that's the weekend that I felt my life changed for me too. And it's not because I don't feel, I won't even discuss stuff that comes after this because it's about what's in this book right now. Basically, I didn't, aside from this man telling me that he had his connections, he did feed my mind, him and the person he lived with, who I felt was the one who had these connections. And I felt that for selfish reasons, they ruined my life. So for me, being watched and being followed and being drugged and putting things into my food, and then much later on in this story, in the last final pages, I say that they put a computer chip into my brain. And basically, yes, that is how I live my life, thinking that people could know what I'm thinking, and not just know what I'm thinking, but know what I'm saying and thinking in my mind. People can control me, my body, by putting things into my food, into my body, using my body, basically not just raping my mind, but raping my body in any way. And yeah, so this is probably the side of me that many of you probably don't even know about. But this is me, a part of me, the part that I felt people made for me and, created for me. And even though, yeah, after this, everyone's going to get up and balance and drink and whatever, like celebration, and I'll probably do that too. But the reality is that is not how I live my life every day. And there are so many things more that I could address and talk about that even came after this. And it's a miracle actually that I'm here right now, alive. The things that I went through, the way that I suffered mentally, all the things that I felt people were doing to me and my mind, and it's, Pedro told me, don't cry. And honestly, right now, I don't feel like crying. I'm angry. I'm very angry. And if I could address those two individuals who destroyed my life, who I felt destroyed my life, anyone could become something that they're not. If you're pushed to that limit, pushed to the edge, you feel people are basically stabbing you in the back, hurting you, hurting your family. Everything that I go through, that would not make someone a sane person. And basically, yeah, I'm not afraid to say it because it's in this book. Yes, I was going to get a revenge on them. I was. But you know what? I did not go down the path of revenge. I did not go down a dark path. To make a longer story short, I ended up here in the Hollywood Hills where everyone thinks I live the glamorous, rich Hollywood Hills life, which it's not actually like that. I ended up here through tragic circumstances, very tragic circumstances. I know it's sad to say, but he basically helped me, and he opened his doors, and now I'm here. But even I know I didn't want to talk about the other chapters of my life because there's 2 other chapters that come after this one. I just wanted to, even though my mind tells me that people know these things, I just felt that I wanted to, my actual self, my mouth, tell these things to you guys. Because this is who I really am, how I live. And even though there's people in here that I've never met before or barely know, it's probably, or to even some people who know me well, maybe it's uncomfortable for you to talk for me to talk this way, or even embarrassing. But the truth is, for me, this is my life, and it's not embarrassing. It's tragic and sad and humiliating, and this is how I live my life. And even though right now I feel that I guess I'm in a better place right now, but you never know what the future holds. And honestly, the way my life is and the way I feel these people have destroyed my life, I don't see bright future for my life. It's the truth. But someday, whoever comes across my name or knows me or knew me, if they want to know why I ended up who I ended up, why I am who I am, it's all in this book. Not this one, in this book. Dark Stranger. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions, any feedback? Christian?
Yeah. I understand. And I know you're saying you went through a lot of stuff, which a lot of us have gone through hell and back. But to me, I'm feeling like you're making yourself like you're weak. And I don't see you as a weak person, because otherwise we would have never ever been friends as long as we had.
Can I answer that?
I don't care to have anybody around me who's weak. I like somebody who's strong, and I don't see you as a weak person. I see you as a strong person.
If you don't see me as a weak person, why did you say you just said you see me as a weak person?
I don't see you as a weak person.
For me to suffer this way for 20 years and survive to tell it, you actually think I'm a weak person?
No, I didn't say that. I'm saying it makes you strong. You're a strong person. I don't surround myself with people who are
not dead or worse, because I could have and did end up in some of those places. So, any other questions? Ed?
Hey Danny, I'm really proud of you. I mean that from the bottom of my heart, and really proud of you for speaking your truth. I'd just like to ask everyone to give him a nice round of applause. I'm really proud of you for speaking your truth, and I think that you're taking the first steps to kind of get away from that part of your life which has caused you a lot of pain, understandably so. And I think that you're starting to understand yourself and get to know yourself better through this process. It's a painful process whenever you have to get something like this out of you, but I'm really proud of you for doing it. And I think it's just so much deeper than your other books. I think this is something that could really put you on the map there. I think it's something that this is what writing is about, this pain that you're going through. And I think a lot of people this will resonate with and they'll relate to it. And like Chris said, there's a lot of us that have gone through horrible pain. I've had some horrific experiences in my life. While I choose to look ahead and not look back too much, I do reflect on the past. And I think you're starting to understand the maladaptive thought pattern that some of these experiences have caused you to have, and that's the first step. And I couldn't be more proud of you. I mean, I see you as so much of a bigger person after having done this. And
thank you.
My hat's off to you.
Thank you. Well, to talk about what you said too, answer what you said actually about, you know, I'm not looking for anyone to feel sorry for me or to have empathy over me.
Yeah.
I just want people to know who I am and who I became, and how I end up is all because of this story, people in this book.
Well, we all love you. You should know that. And I think, you know,
Jay?
that's obvious.
Oprah said something along the lines of like, I know Oprah, about how she held grudges against people from a long time ago, and then she realized that those people had moved on with their lives, so she had to let it go. And I'm like, she makes it sound so simple. I can't do that.
Exactly.
No one I know can really do that. So like, in that, knowing that, like, do you know these two people? Do you know what's happened to them since?
Well, I only mentioned Damien more, or I only mentioned him once in this presentation, but the truth is there was two of them. Damien and then Hector, which was his Damien was the whore, and that Hector was the one who paid him, used to pay him, and he was a man who had full bolognese at that time. And you know, when I met him, that man Hector, at the time I was 20 years old. He was in his late 40s, I guess, dying of AIDS, and he the first time I met him, I knew he didn't like me. Because I felt that I was the young new thing. I was 20 years old. I was happy. I was healthy. Had my whole life ahead of me, and I was being with someone that he was with. So basically, that planted the seed of why I feel part of why he did this to me. And if anyone wants to know why I feel they did this to me, read the book. Yeah.
I have a comment, not more of a question. I just want to think that I hope everyone reads this book, because I think for the most part, people that are in this room, you know, for the most part, you invited your close friends, and of course your family's here. So, you know, they lived it with you, and, you know, me and you have had private conversations about what you feel you went through and what you went through, and your close friends have read this book. The ones that are like your close friends have read this. I've read parts of it. And I just want to commend you, because to put on display on who you are, what you went through in a book, and put it on display for people to read, have their opinions, depict, you know, all that stuff is brave. And I think that when you put a chapter of your life, we've all had dark chapters, horrible times, and, you know, maybe we don't always share that with people. We share that with the closest of, you know, people that are close and that are our friends. And you're putting it on, you know, your books are everywhere. They're on Amazon or whatever, so anybody that can purchase it can read. And it's very intimate things that happen to you in this book, very tragic things. These people I would depict as evil. They did, you know, evil things to you.
Well,
I just want to commend you for putting your life out there, and I think that I want to, hopefully everybody here will read it and purchase a book or get a book, however they get it. And I think that it gives you a much better understanding of you and what you go through in your life.
Yeah.
And where you've been. We all have a story of where we've been.
Yeah.
And our past doesn't define us, but it also helps us to get where we are. And a portion it does make us, you know, either make us or break us depending on how we live in and how we change it.
Yeah.
And
well, thank you.
I hope that everybody will read it. And I've told you this privately, but I think that, you know, with the thoughts in your head, whether they're, you know, if somebody reads the book, they'll better understand what I'm saying. But you have a tougher time than the rest of us. Well, I say our majority of people, where you struggle with all the things that you just said about the thoughts in your head.
Yeah.
And that does make you a strong person. I mean, I don't think that you're depicting as a weak person.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Michael. And also about that, you know, of course, even in this first chapter of my life, the first sentence reads, "Everyone's life is a story to tell, but not everyone tells their story to everyone." And I've chose to do that. And honestly, yeah, we all have our issues. We all go through our pains and our own sufferings, or whatever you want to call them. But the truth is, not everyone's problems are the same as someone else's. Remember that. And when you feel bad about, you know, your bills or your boyfriend or girlfriend or, you know, the normal things that the average human being goes through. You know, think of what you do have and what you don't have. And, you know, just, yeah. Ed?
Okay. I don't think, you know, I have the guts to put in writing what he did.
Neither do I.
And
I don't.
Neither do I.
It took a long time for you know, to this all to develop. Fortunately, 2 years after Dark Stranger, I met Danny.
3.
And that 3 years, and as a result, you know, we're all here today, and he has developed many friends. He's written 8 books now. You know, he's on medication. He's doing much better, and you know, I'm really proud to be a part of that. Somehow it continues for many more years.
Thank you, Art. Well, I'll just end this on a, even though I was mostly negative, I'll try to end this on a positive positive ending. Oh, Roberto.
And I'm trying to think about the question because it's not about.
Before you speak, I just want to say something. Once we did meet, you were very instrumental into getting Danny help, and you know, without some help from a doctor, which you are, I don't think Danny would be to where he has gotten today. So I want to thank you, Roberto.
Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you.
No, actually, you were kind of trying to think about this back then when we discussed about that. You know, is there is anything that anybody in this room could do to help you to turn that for the better for you? I don't know what's the stage because only you know that.
That's a good.
Be like you have a magic wand right now. This is gonna be the thing that will help me to.
Because it makes me concerned like him. We're all concerned.
Take off. What
Well,
be then?
honestly, when I met Art, like a year or so later, I started to see a therapist, and then I got on medications, tried many of them, and honestly, yes, the medications I take, they don't cure the thoughts and things that I go through. They just kind of tone the volume down and help me deal with it a lot better with depression and other things. You know, it does help some ways, but then sometimes I get off them because I feel, wow, they're not really working. I'm still thinking all these things. So when I get off them, it kind of escalates into more like it used to be in these early 20 to 23 years. But, you know, I even with medication, I truly believe that I am not what people label me as being paranoid schizophrenic. I don't believe that. I believe that what I go through is my reality, and despite how I deal with it, you know, me fighting these demons that surround me being alive, me being here right now, is me fighting back the way I live. Amando? Amando?
What I want to say is, we all love you, you know. And just if we come tonight, it just feel the love that we share. You know, we will be there for you. You know.
Yeah.
You know, as you go through all these other stages in life.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know, we'll come here together and to support you, and never think, you know, that we're gonna leave you. We'll always be here.
We are real friends. Won't leave you anyways.
Yeah.
Ed?
Danny, you know, I'm concerned about you, to be honest with you, because I feel that you're suffering from severe depression, and I have experience with that myself, and I think you and I have had some talks about this. And what I'd like to really be a part of, or for you to somehow find a way to do, is to stop the suffering. And I think that's a part of what you did there, and you've done a service to the world by putting that out there, because it takes, you know, you really have to be a brave person to do that. Because I wouldn't be able to. I have things to say, and I have a story like many people, and you know, Ed a lot of times tells me to write it, and Roberto has done the same, and I just don't have the courage in many ways to revisit all those things, right? Because there's a suffering. So what I really like to see, Danny, is for your suffering to lessen, and for you to be happy and and more in control. And I just hate to see that. So if there's any way I can help or anybody else can help, I think your focus should really be to lessen your suffering and putting these things in the place where you come from a position of control. And I think what Chris was saying was even a positive thing. I know maybe it came across not like that. He's really complimenting you. He was what
All I was saying is that you're
Yeah.
strong, and I don't
So,
surround myself with nobody who's
I just
weak.
want you to.
That's
I
all
want.
it is. You're not.
I don't know how it's gonna happen, and I don't know what I could do. If I had a magic wand, I would do it. But I really like to see you happy and healthy. And I know there's distractions with.
Yeah, well, honestly, too, another way by me publishing this chapter of my life is in a way to kind of close that part of my life. Even though, I'll use this as an example.
To heal.
Let's say someone cut off my legs 20 years ago. 20 years later, I'm still not going to have legs, but you could live with it. You could learn to live that way. Yes, and you could move on, and that's what I am doing. And by doing this is what I'm doing. Me living alive right now, because trust me, I could have ended up so many worse places, and like I said before, I ended up here for now.
I have a comment to that. That's a blessing.
Ed?
Danny has a book of poetry. That's the first time I really came in touch with his soul. He gave me a complimentary copy. And I just, to be honest with you, I wasn't really that interested in reading before that, but I opened and read a poem about, wow, it touched me. And so for a while, I got so much into it. When I went traveling, I would take the book with me. I would send pictures to him from the hotel room, and there was nothing but his book at the table.
Yeah.
So that's first when I got to know his soul. But my question for you right now is, I'm definitely going to read the book, and I'm probably going to give it as a gift to other people. But the question is, do we need to, because it's Chronicle 2, do we need to read that before we understand that, or does it stand on its own?
Well, honestly, you don't have to read the first one to understand this one, but this is who I was before this happened. So if you want to know who I truly am, this is who I truly was. And this is who I became. But now I'm scarred by those times. I will always be scarred by those times. Always. For the rest of my life. But, I've learned to fight back. And I'm fighting back. By me being alive and living, I'm fighting back every day.
Someone once told me a long time ago that, and this is what I think about my life as well, being in a boxing arena and just kind of like, taking the blows, and then you fall down, and then you get yourself back up, and then, you straighten yourself, your act up, and put those dukes back up, and just keep fighting.
Yeah, that's what I do.
As we speak.
Michael? Roberto?
This is the last thing that I'm
Yeah, we
say.
should end.
I'm hoping that in the future, I don't know if it's gonna be 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, but I guess the sooner the better. I'm hoping that we're gonna be all here together. You're gonna be standing like forward, and instead of having those pictures right there, who you were and who you are today.
Who I became.
Hopefully you're gonna be standing right here with another picture in your new book that is gonna say, this is what that I went through back then, and this is who I am today. That's the only thing I can tell you.
Okay, thank you, Roberto.
My question is kind of like a reverse of what Roberto asked. I think Roberto and kind of Ed asked a combination of a good question. But what have your friends done? Because you speak of a lot of great friends in this book. It really tells in detail what you went through.
I didn't have friends back then.
No. I'm saying friends now.
For Dark Strangers
Oh.
Now.
too.
I'm talking about like in your life now, like with your thoughts and what you go through. This book talks about what you went through, right?
Yeah.
And now you have a surrounding of people, people in this room, your family, different people. What have things that your friends done to support you through the things your thoughts and the things that you go through daily that have worked for you? And what are things that your friends can do to continue to support you? Like, what has worked that have helped you get past these thoughts and the things that you struggle with daily?
Well, that's very kind of you to ask me this, and hold on, I want to answer his question. Well, basically, these last 15 years with art, most of them have been good years, most of them. And, I was able to do the things that I never did before, not just traveling, but having friends, having friends in my life, regardless of their party friends or acquaintances or whatever. It was just good. It felt good to actually have people who I felt, I guess, cared about me in some ways. And, going out. I never went out until I was 24 years old. And, going to the clubs and having honestly, most of my friends, we don't discuss these things. it's it's all about the parties and, you know, put your problems under the rug. And then this is me saying, you know what, it's time to clean house.
Do you want to talk about these things with your friends?
This is what I'm doing now. Philip?
Yeah, what I was thinking is like, this was you as the caterpillar. This is the part where you had to go into the cocoon, the dark cocoon.
The shedding away.
Yeah, and now we're waiting for the butterfly that you become. So it's like,
Yeah, well,
that's because, and that's up to you.
Well, thank you, Philip. Well, to answer that, yes, there's 2 other chronicles that follow this one, and the third one is still dark, which is called Dark Path, and I'm not going to talk about that one until I publish it. But the fourth one, the one where I live with art, is actually called A Light in the Dark. So that implies that there's hope. You know, there's hope at the end of the tunnel for me. But you don't. But you know, you never know how the story ends. But I just hope it ends good. And I don't want, like I said, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. Or I just want you to know this is how I live, and I am a fighter, and I'm fighting back every day. And you know, I know the next time we see each other, most of us will not address these things again. We'll probably just pretend they didn't happen or exist. But I just wanted to get these things off my chest. So, Priscilla?
Well, I know me and you talked about this a couple weeks ago. And again, I just want to commend you on doing this. Because like everybody said, it's very brave. It takes a lot of guts, you know, to be able to talk about the darkest things that have happened to you. Like I talked to you too, and you know, I couldn't do that at all. I even questioned you. I was like, wait, what are you putting about me in there? Because I'm like, I'm not like, I can't do that. But at the same time, I want to say I'm very proud of you. And I know I was young when you were going through that. And I've told you I'm very proud of everything you've been able to do.
Thank you, Priscilla.
There's different approaches, you know. Everyone has their own path, and different people deal with things differently. Like, I was taking my dad in for his heart operation, and they were wheeling him in, and I asked him if he has anything he wants to say, you know, that was meaningful to summarize like what he's learned in his life. I thought that, you know, it was the appropriate time to do that. And what he said is that don't look back, look ahead. Wow. And, you know, that works for some people, but, you know, at the end of the day, you have to find your own path. I think there's, a proper place for that, but this can be very cathartic, what Danny has done.
Oh, yes.
And there's different ways of letting go of things. I think it's important to forgive people and to understand when you forgive people, you're not doing it for them. You're doing it to make yourself free. And if you can't forgive those people, it doesn't, you know, one of them is dead, I assume, the other one, whatever. But if you can forgive them, that's a part of it. And I never understood that. And it used to make me feel really angry when people told me that, to forgive people. I want to like kick them in the teeth, you know, and you have no idea what I've been through. You have no idea how horrible this person is and all that. But eventually it resonated with me, and I connected the dots about what forgiveness means. And it's not some wonderful thing you do for anybody else. It's what you do inside of yourself.
Right.
And I think that's a part of it. But there's many different methods of dealing with things, and how to let go of things. I'm just very proud of Danny, and I am concerned hearing all this, like anybody that cares for you would be. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if in any way I can be there for you, I'm there for you. I just don't. One thing that came to my mind is that I just want to make sure that you never get in such a dark place that you consider self-harm or you consider any self-destructive behavior. Yep. And that's what concerns me greatly, and it would concern anyone that cares about you. So remember that's never the answer. And I've dealt with many things like depression and different things you have. It's just at the end of the day, life is beautiful, and just embrace this experience, and just embrace the heartbreak and get through it, Danny.
Thank you.
You know.
Thanks, Ed. Anyone else before I end this?
That was very good.
Oh, Dad?
Yeah.
My dad wants to speak.
Well, Danny, I feel real bad and sad. But most of it, we're happy for you.
Thank you.
It's what you're doing. Accomplish everything by yourself. And I'm just saying, keep up the good work, and you feel better inside. So it hurts us to see you sad. So we just want you to be happy inside and out.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And we love you.
I love you too. I love my family. Okay, well, enough negativity. I guess we'll just sweep this under the rug and have a party now. So, yeah, all right.